Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be doing another Top of My TBR video. Top of My TBR is a series that I have created on my channel where I basically just talk about the books that are really intriguing me right now. I do these videos once every 3 months or so, but this is definitely not my official TBR for the next few months. These are just the books that tend to come to the forefront of my mind most frequently. As always, I'm going to start off by talking about the books that I own, which is not very many this time, and then I'm going to transition into the new releases of fall, and then into the rest of the books that I don't own yet. And because I did just do my September TBR not too long ago, I'm not going to talk about the books in this stack, but if you do want to see more about my September TBR, I will leave a link down in the description to my August wrap-up and September TBR. Also, I did a separate video talking about all of the graphic novels, trade comic books, and manga that are really intriguing me right now because there are a ton, and it was just too many to list in my Top of My TBR video. So if you do want to check out that list, I will leave a link down in the description to that video as well. That being said, let's jump into my actual list. First up is the Under the Never Sky trilogy by Veronica Rossi. This is one that has interested me pretty much ever since I started BookTube because it is kind of a sci-fi dystopian, and that's one of my favorite genres. And I've also heard that this trilogy has some really great world building, which is one of my favorite aspects of a book. So I'm really intrigued by this trilogy right now. I have the first 2 books in the trilogy and I just need to get the 3rd one, and then I will probably be reading this sometime in the near future. Next, and the last one that I actually own, which is pathetic, is More Than This by Patrick Ness. So I got More Than This kind of on a whim without really knowing too much about it, and so I never really ended up picking it up. But now that I know a little bit more about it and I've started reading the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness, this book is really starting to intrigue me because I think that Patrick Ness is a really interesting author and I definitely want to check out more from him. And More Than This is just really mysterious overall, and I'm kind of in the mood for that right now, so it's definitely something that I want to pick up in the near future. And now moving into the new releases of the fall, starting with Illuminate by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, which is set to be released on October 20th. Illuminate is definitely one of my most eagerly anticipated releases of the fall, not only because it's a dystopian with some post-apocalyptic vibes, but also because it seems to have a really unique formatting with case files, and it just looks really cool. And plus it's a fairly thick book, so it's just combining a ton of things that I really love, and so I am really excited about Illuminate. Next up is the book that pretty much everyone is going to have on their most anticipated fall releases list, and that is Winter by Marissa Meyer. I'm a recent fan of the Lunar Chronicle series. I read the first 3 books back in the spring and early summer, and I really enjoyed them. Crest was my favorite book in the series so far, so I'm really eagerly anticipating what's going to happen in Winter, and plus Winter is supposed to be over 800 pages, and as I said, I love big books, so I am just super excited about this one. Next up is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, which is set to be released on October 6th. Now, Fangirl is the only book that I've read from Rainbow Rowell so far, so I am probably not quite as excited as some people who are hardcore Rainbow Rowell fans, but I really loved all of the Simon Snow parts of Fangirl, and so I'm just really excited to see how she translates that into an actual fantasy novel. And on top of the fact that fantasy novels are kind of my favorite thing ever, I'm also really intrigued to see how Rainbow Rowell writes a fantasy novel because she hasn't really written anything except contemporary so far, so that is also really intriguing to me. Another one that I'm extremely excited about is also being released on October 6th, and I've actually already pre-ordered this one, and that is The Amazing Book Is Not on Fire by Dan Howell and Phil Lester. For those of you who don't know, Dan and Phil are 2 British YouTubers, and yes, I know, another YouTube book, but this is literally the only one that I care about because Dan and Phil are my OTP fan for life. I love them so much. I just love Dan and Phil so much, and I've been watching them for quite a while now, and Dan is literally my spirit animal. He is the male version of me. I love him so much. I cannot wait to get this book into my hands because of how much I love them and their YouTube channels. And finally, the most important book being released this fall is also being released on October 6th, and that is the illustrated version of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Somehow I forgot to mention this in my most anticipated releases of the fall for my Top 5 Wednesday, and I've been kicking myself ever since because I am so excited about the illustrated edition because all of these pictures seem so beautiful, and I need it. I want it now. The only thing that I'm slightly worried about is that the illustrated version is like 250 pages long according to Goodreads, and the regular version is 300 pages long. So I'm kind of wondering how that happened. Like, is it an abridged version? Is it shortened for some reason? I don't know. I really hope that it is the full novel with pictures along with it. But that doesn't seem likely given that it's 250 pages long. So if anyone knows if this is like an abridged version, or if anyone has any explanation for why it might be shorter, just let me know down in the comments because I'm really curious and I'm crossing my fingers that it is the full novel. So now I'm going to be moving into some series that have had some recent releases, starting with the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. So you're probably wondering, Kristen, why do you have the fourth book in the Throne of Glass series when you have not read the first three and do not even own the first three? Well, as you can see right here, this is a signed copy. I found it in my Target and I knew I really wanted to start the Throne of Glass series very, very soon, and so I could not pass up the opportunity to get this. And honestly, it just gives me even more motivation to pick up the first three books and The Assassin's Blade and to get on the series ASAP. So yeah, this is definitely a series that I do plan to get to in the very near future. So next up on my list is the Magisterium series by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. I just really don't know why I didn't read The Iron Trial when it was released last year, because it just has so many elements that I really love in books. It's got a magic school, it's written by Cassandra Clare, it's been compared to Harry Potter. I don't know why I didn't pick it up and read it. But now it is definitely right up there at the top of my TBR, and I want to get to both the Iron Trial and the Copper Gauntlet very, very soon. So transitioning completely out of the new releases, the next one that is super high up on my TBR is the Reckoner series by Brandon Sanderson. For some reason, even though I definitely want to get to all of Brandon Sanderson's published works in the near future, this series has just kind of risen to the top, and it's really intriguing to me, and so I definitely want to pick it up in the very near future. I haven't heard quite as many amazing things about this series as I have about a lot of Brandon Sanderson's other stuff, but this just seems like a really, really fast-paced series, and that's kind of what I've been in the mood for lately. So next up on my list is The Martian by Andy Weir. Now, I did make the mistake of seeing the movie trailer before I knew that that wasn't a good idea, but I don't really remember much from it other than the stuff that I already knew about the book going into the trailer, so hopefully I didn't spoil myself, but a lot of people have been talking about this lately because it is being made into a movie and the movie is coming out very soon, and it just really has me intrigued to pick it up. October is usually when I tend to read a lot of creepy and suspenseful reads, and even though this one doesn't necessarily fall into that category, I read 172 Hours on the Moon last October for the creepy reads, and I kind of feel like The Martian really fits in with that, and I might read it for October, even though it's not incredibly creepy from what I understand. But yeah, this is one that I really want to get to pretty soon. Speaking of creepy reads, this one is one that I will definitely be reading in October, and that is The Child Thief by Brahm. Like I've said many times, Jeff from Ermagerd Books is one of my most trusted reviewers, and he loves this book, so I am really intrigued to check it out. Next up is the Magic 2.0 trilogy by Scott Meyer. I first heard about this trilogy from Lindsay over at Lindsay Ray, and ever since I first heard her talk about it, this has been super high up on my TBR. It just seems really intriguing because it deals with a hacker who goes back in time and pretends to be a magician, and I just think that the magic and the technology and the medieval time period just are going to be so cool, and she said that these are all really fast-paced, and it just makes me really want to check these out. And I know I've said this about literally every book on this list, but I cannot wait to check this out, and I want to get it in the very near future. And finally, I have reached the last trilogy on my list, and that is the Gemma Doyle trilogy by Libba Bray. Now, the Gemma Doyle trilogy is slightly outside of my comfort zone because it is a historical fiction novel, but I also really loved The Diviners by Libba Bray, which is a paranormal historical fiction book, and that's kind of what the Gemma Doyle trilogy is, plus the fact that it's set at a boarding school. So even though the trilogy does seem to be slightly outside of my wheelhouse, there are definitely a lot of elements to it that have proven to be things that I've really enjoyed in the past. And plus, it just seems really mysterious and intriguing, and it's one that I've been wanting to check out for quite a while, but haven't really talked about very much on my channel. So that is it for my third top of my TBR video. As I said, I also did a video a couple days ago about the manga and comic books and graphic novels that are really intriguing me right now. So like I said earlier, if you do want to check that out, the link is down in the description. If you have read any of the books that I talked about today, please let me know down in the comments what you thought about them. As always, I will leave links down in the description to my blog, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!